And we're live. What up, Miles?
What up?
Where you at?
I'm in South Bend, Indiana. It's pretty
You're
sweet, actually.
You're still in Notre Dame country?
Yeah, I stopped by and watched Notre Dame marching band yesterday. It was cool. And they have like a legitimate rugby field, which made me jealous.
Oh, man. Shout out OIT boys.
Yeah, it made me want to go to Notre Dame for sure.
Oh, like, for sure. We're 1 year out of college, so like, especially moving to Chicago, I see all these beautiful universities and stuff, and it's just like they're just so much better. They have so much more money, and there's so many different places out there, rather than just rinky-dink Klamath Falls, Oregon.
And the facilities are unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
And the staff that they're able to hire.
Oh, I bet.
Before we go down that road.
Actually, this might be the closest you are to me, location-wise, that we've done a pod, because like South Bend's only like 3 hours away.
Yeah, actually, I keep seeing signs for Chicago.
Like, just drive this way, you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could actually take the signs and get to your place.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, you'll have to come up. Basketball season's starting.
Yeah.
Or we'll have to meet in Phoenix or something. I actually just bought plane tickets for Oregon, my Christmas vacation. It's like
Like when?
I think like the 21st through the 29th or something. I'll be in Oregon. Yeah. My dad said he's going to buy like Ducks tickets and Blazers tickets and stuff.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Sweet.
Yeah. So today we are going to do Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball.
Detroit.
Right. Yeah. You were just there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm kind of excited about this one. I'm a little bit skeptical about this team, kind of obviously. But they've got some upside.
Are you looking at the roster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got powerful rebounders, and they're going to have an all-star rebounder on the court every single minute of every game, unless it's a blowout.
Yeah, they definitely start with the front court with the Detroit Pistons. Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, 1-2.
Yeah. I think Andre Drummond averaged more rebounds against the Warriors than any other player in the NBA. He averaged 17.5 rebounds against the Warriors.
Oh, my goodness.
Destroyed them.
Well, now they have DeMarcus Cousins.
That's true. That will
help
disrupt people's rebounding against the Warriors. But I've got my own thoughts about what Cousins is going to do to that team. I was looking up technical fouls and how it affects the game. And Kevin Durant had more ejections last year than anybody else in the NBA. He got ejected 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, at what point?
Like 17 technicals.
At what point do they say, KD, just calm down, dude? It's fine. It's just regular season.
Steve Kerr got ejected in a preseason game.
Yeah, does that carry over?
It should. That's ridiculous.
Hey, man, that's Phoenix's former general manager. Speaking of whom, he joins what?
He didn't live in Phoenix when he was the general manager because people hated him so much. I love Steve Kerr, by the way. Huge Steve Kerr fan.
Well, maybe that GM position in Phoenix is just cursed.
Yeah. I think the ownership is cursed there.
Tarver?
With a small brain.
Cursed with a small brain. We did Phoenix.
Yeah.
Detroit, they have, starting with the back at the end of the roster. We started with the front court, whatever. We just kind of mentioned them. But I want to start with the second-round pick. We saw this guy play when you visited me in Chicago last year. We saw Creighton DePaul. Kyrie Thomas.
He hit a game winner.
Yeah, he did. He was very impressive that night against DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, another season of Reggie Jackson, and if they start tanking, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but if they ever give young guns an opportunity, I think Kyrie Thomas is a guy that can really make a name for himself, especially coming from the second round. I mean, we saw Will Barton in Portland ride the bench for years. He finally gets a role, and look at him now. Kyrie Thomas, he shouldn't have gone in the second round. Somebody should have swooped him up in the – can you imagine him on the Spurs right now?
Yeah, that'd be huge. Spurs need to do something. We won't get off on that, but –
We won't, but they also have Jose Calderon on the roster, which if he plays, great. But, I mean, if you think Kyrie Thomas can be a 1, he can learn under him.
So here's an interesting thing about the starting 5 as it sits for Detroit right now.
Okay, yeah, let's go through it.
They only played 32 minutes together last year.
Go through the starting 5. Andre Drummond,
Griffin, Reggie Jackson, and then something that I read said they're going to start Reggie Bullock.
Reggie Bullock.
Yeah.
I am hyped on that guy. He's going to add – continue.
He moves really well without the ball. And then was it Glenn Robinson? It had to be Stanley Johnson.
Stanley Johnson or Glenn Robinson. Definitely not Luke Kennard.
No.
Maybe one day.
I actually don't remember which one it was.
I think
but those guys played only 32 minutes together last year.
Probably Stanley Johnson.
Yeah.
Really? That's it?
Yeah. And they had a plus 27 net rating, which meant they were destroying whoever they were playing. I don't know who it was.
And
it was only 30 minutes.
That's a bitter Blake Griffin, getting traded in the middle of the season. I'm sure he made the best out of the situation. I mean, he's Blake Griffin. He's a superstar. He's used to be treated like a superstar. And when you get traded, I'm sure it's a big hit to your ego. This season, he's coming in with a fresh mindset, a new season, a blank slate, and a city. Detroit's a great city, and they've been trying to rebuild ever since RIP 2005 championship Pistons.
Yeah.
And I think this is the year they go back to the playoffs. I don't think Reggie Jackson is the answer at point guard, and actually Stanley Johnson. Is this a career year for him? I mean, what did he average last year? Let me look up Stanley Johnson stuff because,
while you're doing that, I think Reggie Jackson can be the answer for them.
Really?
Because here's the thing: in a basketball game, there's going to be 5 stats, and you've got to win 3 of them in order to win the game. If you can't win field goal percentage, free throws, rebounding, fewer turnovers, and halftime score, you have to win 3 of those or you're not going to win a game. Which means they've either got to be able to start quick and maintain that for 24 minutes. They're going to be able to rebound. That is the one thing they're going to be able to do. I think they should. They're going to be able to get to the free throw line, but they're such bad free throw shooters, I don't think it's going to matter. And field goal percentage is going to be huge. And they've got guys that can spread the floor and fill it up from downtown. I know that Glenn Robinson can.
Yep.
Who else was I looking at? Reggie Bullock, Langston Galloway.
Reggie Bullock is going to average double digits this year. He's trending upward, 27 years old. He's like on a $1.3 million contract. Nothing. And there's something to be said about a guy, any person, scratching and clawing and barely making it. And Reggie Bullock has been bounced around the NBA from the Clippers, now the Pistons. And I think he finally grinded enough. He earned his opportunities last year. He started 52 games. Let me see. Started 52 out of 62 he played in, almost 30 minutes a game, 11 points, and he hit 2 threes on 44.5%. I saw in Summer League he was cutting, or in preseason, he was cutting. He gets to the hoop. He can shoot. He's 27. He's finally going to break out this year. Maybe 12, 13 points. I mean,
oh yeah, that's very doable.
When you're trying to be a playoff team, and any team, you need a wing, like you said. You need someone to get stops and just hit a three, and he's the guy. And especially when you have two front court players like that, you need someone always there to space the floor, always.
Exactly.
And
unlike
Stanley Johnson.
I don't know, Stanley Johnson. I've seen him shoot the ball.
Did you see him shoot at a 28.6% from the arc last year? See that?
That's not very good. I guess it's hard when you're watching highlight videos. They never miss in the highlight video.
No, but he's to give him credit, he's pretty jacked, and like he's a big shouldered, skilled, relatively skilled, big, fast, athletic 6'7" guy. I mean, he can do a lot. I mean, even if you need him to play the 4, you can play him and Reggie Bullock together. Yeah.
To me, I see Stanley Johnson as somebody who's really good at recovering from his own mistakes. But I think he could still be valuable.
Yeah, I think he could still be.
Detroit is a really raw team in the kind of skills department, where they don't have that many guys that are going to be able to create all by themselves. I think that Reggie Jackson has the capability, but he's not going to be able to do it for 48 minutes a game, or even probably 30 minutes a game. He's going to be able to do it in transition.
To play devil, I mean, exactly. I didn't mean to cut you off, and I just wanted to, when Kyle Lowry, we could have been saying the same things about Kyle Lowry before Toronto. And the difference was he got mentored by Dwayne Casey. And maybe that was Dwayne Casey's pitch in the interview. Like, hey, you saw what I did to Kyle Lowry in Toronto, right? I can do the same thing here. I could bring Reggie Jackson to an all-star point guard level, and we can make the playoffs. We can get the 1 seed. We may not do anything else, but hey, that's better than whatever we're doing here in Detroit lately.
And last year, if I'm not mistaken, Detroit was the number 1 team in the East for a little while.
For a little bit, yeah, stretch. When everyone was healthy.
Yeah. And then they started having troubles, and then they ran into trades, and then they got a new coach. That was at the end of the year. But they've gone through a lot of changes. And I think this year they can kind of settle down and maybe focus on it a little bit. Granted, they stay healthy.
So what's their identity? Is it a front court slow team, or is it an up-tempo Reggie Jackson push the pace team?
It's got to be up-tempo. I don't know. I feel like it's got to be up-tempo because they're going to have to.
This isn't Blake Griffin from 2010.
Blake Griffin's going to have to run the floor because Andre Drummond's going to clean up the mess down low. Defensive boards. He averaged like 15 or 16 rebounds a game last year.
Especially when people are going small, it's like when you get a guy who can actually run, and also he's 7'1" and weighs 300 pounds.
Yeah. To me, if a team has somebody that can match up Drummond, you have to make him run. If you have somebody like, say, DeMarcus Cousins, you have to make DeMarcus Cousins run. And that's how those big men are going to make mistakes. Is Drummond grabbing the ball, outlet, and the rest of the guys can run the floor. Blake Griffin's capable of running the floor.
Well, it'll be interesting to keep with the Toronto parallel. They had Valanciunas under Dwayne Casey, and I mean, before DeMar DeRozan emerged, I remember Valanciunas was almost like their franchise player for a little while.
Yeah,
he may not have developed. I mean, the league kind of went away with it, but let me
He's
ask
kind of
you.
a big man in a tough era.
Right, and speaking of eras, like, is this Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond 4 or 5? Is this like the new NBA's Twin Towers? When you can play a 6'7" guy at center now, is this considered like just this crazy giant lineup that can just maul people and also get back?
That's what you would kind of have to go with. That's what I would say.
It's kind of like your identity at this point, right? Like, can you maybe like in New Orleans, Mirotic and Anthony Davis, or like when they had Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, that'd probably be a better parallel because
Yeah, that'd be a really good example.
Cousins could shoot, he could step out, and they both could. And
that was
actually,
a dangerous lineup.
Blake Griffin, he's developed his jump shot. I think he realized after like his first knee injury, like, oh shoot, kind of have to be something like besides just a dunker. And now Dwight Howard's over here with like a spinal tap going, I need to shoot, huh?
I think that Blake Griffin doesn't need a 3-pointer. What he does need is a stronger post game out, maybe mid-range.
Which
I'd love to see.
He's really developed that like elbow jumper, maybe 15 feet. You don't think he can step out to 3? What was his percentage last year?
I don't know.
Well, if he's healthy, that's the whole thing, right?
I know that he shot more threes last year than he did in the rest of his career.
Oh wow, he played 58 games last year. That's actually pretty good. Where does it say his 3-point percentage? Last year, 34.8, the highest of his career.
How many did he shoot?
5.5 a game.
Seriously?
3-point attempts, 5.4. It's pretty.
Actually, I'd take that from Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
I just don't like seeing it so much.
He almost hit 2 threes a game, 1.9 threes a game.
I just feel like he's going to depend on it. And he doesn't need to. He's 6'10".
It's a long season. He's trying to stay healthy.
I don't know. I have a tough time with the guys who should be the back to the basket big men, and they're stepping out to the 3-point line. And what it's doing is taking them away from what made Blake Griffin money, which was rebounding.
What made Blake Griffin was Chris Paul.
That's true. And how many dunks a game he could get.
Exactly.
His highest rebounding season was his rookie season.
Was it really?
He averaged 22 and 12 his rookie season.
Yikes.
Then the next year was his second highest rebounding season. He averaged 20 and 11. And then the next year went down to 8.
8.8 defensive rebounds in his first year.
He hasn't been back up to double-digit rebounds since his second year in the league. And that's not because of injury. That's because of effort. He played 80 games, started 80 games, played 35 minutes a game. That's crazy. That shouldn't happen.
He's definitely one of those let me get my numbers tonight kind of guys. I mean, he cares about winning and all, but he's definitely like,
I don't think he cares as much about winning as a lot of other guys.
He needs to get his 20 a game.
He hasn't averaged 20 a game for a while either. Just kidding.
Just kidding. What about their draft pick from a couple years ago, Henry Ellenson?
I was actually looking at him. I'm interested to see if they give him a look. Like how much of a look?
I was under the impression that he was ready to go for his rookie year. I'm surprised it kind of took him this long.
He hasn't played a whole lot.
Nah. He played a lot more last year.
He's played 57 games. And he hasn't really produced huge numbers when he's been out there.
I mean, he was marketed as a stretch four, and last year he shot 33%. So compared to that to his rookie year, so maybe some guys take a little bit longer. You know, maybe bigs just needed a little bit more time to mature. I don't know.
I think bigs are kind of at a weird place in the NBA right now
Oh, for sure.
because they're not really sure what what teams are looking for and where the most value is. And right now, guys want to like step out to the 3-point line. But here's the thing: if you shoot 6 of 10 down on the block, or you could shoot 4 of 10 from 3-point line, it's the same. You get 12 points for it. Only down low on the block, you can put somebody in foul trouble. You can have a shot at going to the free throw line, and there's very few guys in the league, despite what it looks like, that can actually get free throws from a 3-point line, and that's James Harden mostly.
I mean,
maybe Steph Curry if you're jumping on top of him.
The 76ers run their offense pretty much through Joel Embiid in the post. They try and get it to him like pretty much every time, you know?
Yeah. And I think Joel Embiid is going to be an unstoppable force in the league in the next few years. I don't think there's a single person that'll be able to touch him. It doesn't matter if you've got DeMarcus Cousins or Ben Wallace.
That might be this year.
It might be.
He might single-handedly. I mean, Al Horford's great on defense, but the way he looked great in the playoffs, and he might single-handedly win. He might beat Boston in the finals, in the conference finals. Can you imagine that?
I don't think he's got the legs to beat Boston. Boston's deep. They'll run him off the floor. They're deep. They're fast. And they've got Aaron Baines. Baines is a worker. I don't think Baines can stop him, but
I'm pretty sure Baines is on the roster just for Joel Embiid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he'll be able to hang with Boston. I think the Detroit and Philadelphia is kind of an interesting matchup, given the big man matchup. I don't think they can hang with Ben Simmons. They don't really have anybody defensively that can stop Ben Simmons from, 3-point line to the rim. They've got Blake Griffin and Drummond who can disrupt shots at the rim. But I think Ben Simmons is going to start to go for more of a slash and pull up floaters and stuff like that when he plays
like a Steve Nash type finisher, but he's 6'11".
Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah, definitely not a Steve Nash type shooter, but I mean, he gets angles.
He's a guy that I actually think should develop a 3-point shot.
Ben Simmons?
Yeah, because of his athleticism.
Oh, for sure.
Ability to get to the rim, it's actually turned into kind of a hindrance because teams just pack it in. And if you play a team like Detroit, who's actually got people who can block your shot at the rim, it's going to start to turn into a problem. And there's more and more big men that can actually stop people at the rim now. You got Mo Bamba, Ayton, Marvin Bagley. And as those guys develop, the paint's going to get a little bit more crowded than it has been in the last few years. And I think Detroit is kind of ahead of the curve and also behind just because their guys are kind of old.
Yeah. What happens when you switch everything on them? What happens when you have, when you're Houston and you can just throw Capella and you can switch everything?
When you play Detroit, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think that could be a benefit to Detroit because Houston is going to switch everything. That's going to be their entire game style. They will not be able to outscore Houston, though. Like the thing is, Houston doesn't really care if they get scored on. They're going to run down and shoot a three. And they're good enough this year. I heard now they're bringing Carmelo off the bench.
Looks like
which is interesting, having Chris Paul, Harden starting the game and then bringing Melo off the bench. I like that move, actually. But if you play a team like Detroit Detroit is going to be able to score on them, but I don't think they're going to be smart enough or work hard enough to actually make it pay off. Because what they could do all night long is set a pick, switch, and then just post up Griffin, post up Drummond. They could even post up some of their guards. I mean, I think that Reggie Bullock, I think he can post down low.
Yeah.
The way that he moves without the ball, I think if you start setting picks like that and keeping a motion offense, especially against a team like Houston, who doesn't have a huge defensive presence anymore now that they're minus Ariza, I think Detroit has to have a huge amount of effort, but they can play with the elite teams in the NBA.
Let's just go back to the roster and look. I want to. What do you think of Luke Kennard? Do you remember watching him at Duke at all? I mean, because I remember he was one of those really touted high school prospects. He was going to be like a JJ Redick type, and that.
Yeah.
I didn't think he really like panned out all that well at Duke. I never did he. I mean, did he ever have like a 40-night performance? I don't think he was. He's just a light type shooter.
That kind of a player. Yeah, he's definitely a shooter. I mean, I think he's got the potential to go. He's definitely going to be like 40-40, high 80s.
Yeah. I mean, he did hit 41% last year, 41.5. That's great.
Yeah.
For a rookie, 73 games.
I think he's going to turn into kind of maybe a less impressive version of Kyle Korver. I think his percentages are unbelievable in the way that he's adjusted to the league.
He averaged 7.6 points last. Maybe he could be like a Klay Thompson light. What did Klay average his first year?
I don't know, actually. I looked that up.
I mean, it's not like he has a true point guard that can get him when he's running off screens. It's not like they've designed the offense around him either. I mean,
right.
Maybe one day he can get to that JJ Redick, Rip Hamilton, bringing back those days.
Yeah.
I mean, he can just coming off screens.
I think Detroit's a good fit for him as long as Griffin and Drummond do their job. And the whole team hinges on them doing their job because they don't have the skills to create on their own, really. They've got to go down into the post and then kick out.
Yeah.
And Griffin and Drummond both have to demand that double team.
And you only demand a double team after a couple possessions of scoring and warranting.
Right.
You know, you have to set that up. So that's like determines the whole flow of the game almost at that point.
Exactly. And then those guys on the outside have to be moving and looking for their shot and then ready to shoot it, because that's a problem with a lot of shooters. You watch Kyle Korver, and that guy is constantly ready to shoot all the time. And he knocks down unbelievable shots. Not just, I'm standing on the outside and I'm going to knock this shot down consistently. Like really impossible shots where he's off balance. He can come off a pick off one leg and knock a three down. I think that's kind of what Kennard needs to try and model his game after.
Not just because they're white, but also because that other stuff.
Yeah. Also because he does kind of remind me of Kyle Korver a little bit.
Right.
He's just one of those clean-cut shooters. There'll always be room for a white guy.
I remember
30 feet from the basket.
I remember in college, I was at my girlfriend's house watching one of those stupid reality TV shows, and it was like, all of a sudden he came on because he was dating the daughter of like this dude, and I was like, what? He's like and it came like Luke, basketball player. Like, what you doing in here? Shouldn't you be shooting? You doing in Tennessee?
Should be in the gym.
Yeah, I don't be pritzing out here with some girl. So looking at the roster a little bit more, I remember watching a DeMarcus Cousins interview of him going through like his top 5 point guards when he was playing with Rondo or something in the league, and he said Ish Smith was one of his favorite point guards to play with because that guy was like the fastest guy with the ball in his hands.
Really?
Yeah, I think
That's interesting.
you see Reggie Jackson a little misbehave a little bit, and I think you can make Ish Smith run the show. He's just running up and down, fast break. I think you can even go pretty small with this team. I mean, you can go any combination.
He's been around a long time.
You can go Ish Smith. You can go Reggie Jackson, Stanley Johnson, Reggie Bullock, and Blake.
I agree with that.
You can go small with these teams, and you can play their game in spurts. I'm assuming. I mean, like you said, you probably want to you want to stagger the minutes between Blake and Andre. You probably don't want to play them you play them at the same time sparingly.
They're going to have to play really heavy minutes because this team can't rebound without them. I think the small ball lineup, even if they're capable of it, they've got to be really careful with it.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's like
6 minutes a game.
Right. It's not like they have rebounding guards on the team either. It's not like they have a Michael Carter Williams or like a Russell Westbrook or something.
Yeah. I don't know. This whole team hinges on Griffin and Drummond doing their thing. And
what about defensively too? It kind of starts and ends with them as well. Like I said, the switching, like you can get Andre Drummond on a switch, but it's how much does he want to fight through those screens and protect and then fall back and protect the paint? It's how fast your guards can switch back.
I'd like to see a team try a zone defense. I know it wouldn't work, but I'd still like to see it just to convince myself.
I'd like to see LeVar Ball's brand of basketball where you press the entire game and you just shoot the worst jack shots ever and you just cherry pick the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like soccer at that point.
Yeah.
Where it's like two guys in your opponent's backcourt, one guy in half court, and then two guys at your basket. And then that's how you play the game. That's how the game is played.
Yeah.
Like
it's kind of like foosball.
Like Vivek, the owner of the Kings, came out and was like, we need to play four guys defense, one guy offense all time, so we can just throw it to him.
Then you could draft LaMelo Ball.
Oh my gosh. It's a 2-for-1 deal with those guys, man.
You got to take both. I bet LeVar Ball would pay to have his sons drafted. It might work out.
I think if he had $2 billion, they would already be drafted.
I think a team should charge LeVar Ball a rookie minimum to take LaMelo.
Team for his
like $500,000 to draft him, number 24 in the second round.
So I'm still looking at the roster. John Lure, kind of an older guy, born in '89. So he's in his 30s.
I don't think this team has the depth to do much.
You don't think John Lure averaged 10 points in his first year with Detroit and then cut it down to 5 last year. Didn't really play many games.
Yeah, I mean, they've got big dudes. But that's the thing. That's going to be kind of their go-to is they
I think it's just going to
rotating big man in and out.
Right, and it's going to make those wings work really hard. And like if Reggie Bullock is out with an injury, it's not good. They don't have many Glenn Robinson III, I think I haven't talked about him enough, but you brought him up a little earlier. He's a Michigan man. He's a Michigan guy, so he's back in the state where he played college. And he's my age, so I like him even more.
I do like this team in general. I just don't see him doing anything like really significant besides making the playoffs. I think if they stay healthy, that's going to be the end game for them. Is like, let's see if we can make it to the first round, maybe the second. I think if they made it to the second round, they could make themselves a trophy. I think that would be a great season for them.
Watch for Kyrie Thomas, sleeper, getting those cleanup minutes, earning his spot, maybe getting playing time eventually.
Maybe getting playing time eventually. Oh, look at that. He was part of the 76ers draft.
Who's that?
Kyrie Thomas.
Oh, it was a trade?
Yeah. His player efficiency rating is through the roof.
Thomas?
Yeah.
From his days at Creighton?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think he could be a point guard.
That's fantastic. If he was a good free throw shooter, he would have been a 40, 50, 90 guy.
You're looking at Basketball Reference on his thing?
Yep.
Where was the first stat you said?
His player efficiency rating. PER.
Where's that at? Just what is it? What did it say?
What's his player efficiency rating?
Yeah.
It's like a mixture of a bunch of stats.
No, I know what it is. What did it say?
Oh. What do you mean? What did it say?
I don't see it here.
Under the summary, it's like right under his name.
Oh.
At the very end. And then the win shares, which is actually that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
11 for his career, that's pretty good though. Most guys are around like 8 or 9 as an average, so. They say, like, as far as the player efficiency rating goes, if you've got 35, you're undisputedly an MVP.
Right.
You've got 30, you're definitely an MVP candidate, probably an MVP. 25 and up is an all-star. And then 20, you're right there. You're a starter. Fighting for all-star votes. So if he can get back to that, what he was in college, and he's a 3-year college guy, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of guys doing more than 40 games in college. I think there's a huge difference in how fast guys are able to transition from college to the NBA with how many years they played in college.
Oh, for sure. And we've brought that up with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, for sure.
Yeah. Steph Curry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So to finish out the pod, I want to get predictions for where they rank. And I got the Eastern Conference pulled up. So do we want to just rank the teams and stop when we get to Detroit? Or do we go from bottom up?
I think I got to go from the top down.
So Philly, Boston.
Those are your number 1 and 2? As in Philadelphia number 1?
No, like a combination of the two. Given that they're both healthy, then I think Toronto for 3, 4 Washington Wizards, 5 Bucks, and 6 Pistons. I mean, maybe Indiana can get up there. Like the Eastern Conference is not. It's weird. It's different without LeBron James, right? It's different. It's
open.
It's open. What do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna say Boston, Toronto.
Boston, Toronto.
Philly. I guess I'll say Philly.
Yeah, I guess I'll say.
I don't know why I'm kind of hating on Philly right now. I don't know why. I just have this hesitation when I start looking at them. I think that last year they had a really good year, obviously, but it was kind of a shock. Like it was trust the process, and then all of a sudden it worked.
And then all of a sudden, 50 games, 50 wins.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, a lot of things went
I
right for
think
that to
that
happen, right?
yeah. I I mean, Embiid being healthy was the main thing, I guess.
And they went on
And
that
having
stretch. They
him on
went
the
on that
floor,
stretch where they played a bunch of tanking teams
yeah,
to finish out the season. And Ben Simmons was a rookie. I mean, like you said, it went literally from trust the process to 50
yeah,
games. Like literally,
that's true.
like that doesn't
I don't know.
happen.
I think I'm
It's like
hesitating
somebody.
on him because of their youth, and also
Yeah.
because I don't see a lot of depth.
No, you're hesitating because you saw Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge play together, and you don't want to get your hopes up again.
That's in the back of my mind. It's always
And
there. It haunts me.
it's always there. But it's
I
true
would
for this
say,
team, especially because it's like they've all gone their injury history except for Ben Simmons. But I mean, you could have said the same thing about LaMarcus. It's like the same thing. It's like it's very parallel, and I'm not wishing that on Philly for sure. As a
oh, I know.
Blazer fan, I want you to succeed, and I want this for you.
After Philly, I would say it's kind of a mess after that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say Washington, even though I really want to. After hearing what John Wall said, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I think I accidentally messed up
Oh,
my
that's
webcam.
cool. I'll keep talking. So, after what John Wall said, so somebody asks him, just for a reference, people are coming down on him because he's partying. And somebody called him on it. And he said, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm a grown man. If he was actually a grown man, he would own all of his stuff and start playing basketball and take responsibility for his actions and try to make his teammates better. And he pretty much flat out said that he's not going to do that. And
Right.
that makes me very sad for the Washington Wizards and the potential that they had for this year. And that mixed with Dwight Howard and his history, I don't think it's obvious. It's obviously not going to make Dwight Howard better. And then you've got a team just full of attitudes, which can be a really good thing for them, but I think it's going to be a negative. I'll still put them in the playoffs, but I think they're going to self-destruct come playoff time. They're
So
just going to
then,
be so pissed at each other. I would put Milwaukee. Actually, I'll be honest. I'm feeling Indiana.
right?
I like Indiana at number 4 in the East. And I think it's just because it's up for grabs, and Indiana's the kind of team that I think could go take it.
Yeah,
And then I would say Washington and Milwaukee.
I messed up the stream. Can't get my
Are we-
webcam. I can't get my webcam back, but we're still going.
Oh, we're still alive.
Yeah,
They're just looking at me.
yeah. I don't know how to. I'm not back. I mean,
I'm
I
still
could
looking
be.
at the East. I don't know
Yeah.
who fills out the rest of the East. I mean,
I don't know.
Detroit. I would say Detroit, honestly, in the last 2 spots. Detroit and maybe I don't know, maybe Miami, if they can get.
Well,
Butler.
I just wanted to preview until Detroit.
Oh, I would put Detroit at 7 then, since I don't know.
That's why I said
Well-
6, either 6 or 7. You know.
Yeah, from like the 4th spot to the 8th spot in the East is going to be wide open, and I think it'll be kind of exciting this year just because of how bad the East is, but kind of exciting because I think it'll be close.
Yeah. I agree. For sure. And we'll be monitoring it throughout the season too. And that's what I'm excited about. Just to keep doing these pods with you and just like watch the games and Watch
Yeah,
everybody.
hopefully we can do more frequently as the season kicks up because we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get in a good groove. We didn't even talk about freaking the Jimmy Butler saga today.
Oh man, yeah, I was ready too.
I
I was
know,
gonna bring
right?
it up.
Oh man, we could totally. No, we're good. We'll talk about it next time. Maybe we'll have to do an emergency pod if he gets traded, especially to Miami.
Yeah.
So do you still want to keep doing these like team by team previews?
So here's the thing. I want to do one more
Okay.
on the Lakers, and it was kind of a request.
Oh, a
So
request,
my
huh?
brother, yeah. So I told my brother like a while ago that I was doing these,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, "Oh, are you still doing podcasts and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're trying and we're getting better at it, you know."
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
goes, "Oh, let me know when you do the Lakers."
yeah.
He goes, "I've got a guy at work, and he's a big Lakers fan, and he goes, I'll tell him about it when you guys do it, and we'll give you guys some support." So we got some fans.
Let's do it, dude. Let's talk about the Lakers next time.
Yeah. And I have a lot to say about the Lakers because I just read an article about somebody who said he gave 10 reasons why the Lakers won't make the playoffs.
Oh my gosh. See, that's ridiculous. I, on the other hand, have been eating up the Lonzo Ball baby mama drama with Denise. Denise, I forget her last name. Whatever. Denise Future Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into that and more on the next Hoop Report. Later, Miles.
Later.